game is boring.
How come?
Because, computer, there's no immersion within this. It doesn't feel like Link is in my room with me. He's just on the screen. I mean, what kind of fun is that?
Just put the 3D on.
Yeah, but if I slide the 3D on, there's a 1 in 3 chance a hand's gonna come out to murder me.
Besides, the 3D on the 3DS isn't what you would call essential. While some games used it to its advantage, 9.5 times out of 10, that slider was down, and children under 7 couldn't really use that feature. I mean, the warning was on every game known to man, and even as someone in his 20s, I second-guessed whether or not I should use this feature. It's why I wear protective glasses while playing these games.
But while the 3D was the main highlighted feature of the 3DS, it allowed for more options utilizing the 3D, and with that came 3D cameras.
If you ever wondered why the 3DS's cameras look like two eyes staring into your soul, well, it's to enable the ability to take photos that you can view in 3D. It's nothing too special at all. It's like if you took a 2D image, separated its pieces, and just kind of placed them in different spots that are further and closer from the camera. However, Nintendo also decided to give us something amazing with these cameras. Is it sad that this sound is embedded into my head by how much I used to play it as a kid?
I guess it would only be sad if I owned more than one set of the AR card packets, damn it.
No matter what model of 3DS you bought, old, new, 2, XL, quirky, they always came with these, the Nintendo AR cards. In case you don't know, AR stands for Augmented Reality. AR allows you to see things that don't exist in the real world, and while a lot of companies hopped on this trend in the early 2010s, it never went anywhere. Nowadays, augmented reality is used to make your face look pretty, or ugly, or like God himself, and it's all within the smartphone. However, Nintendo is one of the rare few companies that actually develops some kind of games with the AR system.
I like this company because they do dumb stuff like this. Well, back then I was too much of a baby to understand how difficult it might have been to develop an AR game. Nintendo not only did it, but they did it on a handheld system with like half the processing power of a grape.
That's not really a joke, because the camera lags in this game, and yes, I'm playing on a real 3DS and the lag is on the 3DS too. It's more disorienting than when a normal game lags, because it involves movement in this thing called the real world. While it's not like VR, it's almost similar, especially when the 3D is turned on.
Because when the immersion is broken due to a technical fault within the game, it causes this really cool thing to happen called nausea, and it's the reason why I keep the 3D off for this one.
I have a soft appreciation for AR games because I spent so much time on this as a child. It was kind of unhealthy. I found it so cool that this game would alter reality. I mean, just look at it. No, through the 3DS. My desk is deforming. Oh God! There are 6 modes you can do, 3 minigames and 3 art tools. Archery is the first game you'll most likely pick since it's in the middle.
I only ever pick things that are in the middle. If it's between 1 and 3, I always pick 2.
Pick a number between 1 and 5.
7. Wait,
In Archery, you have to shoot these targets around the card. The game has you looking through tough spots and getting really mobile with it. The game also gets a bit wacky and deforms the environment you're playing in. At the end, you fight a dragon, and the fight is interesting because to dodge the attacks, you actually need to move the 3DS, and this is where you can find an opening for those attacks. But that's really it. You shoot some targets, you murder a dragon, you go to its kids and tell them that you did that, you absolute fucking monster.
I murdered your dad on a fishing trip. And yes, it was on purpose. I didn't have enough time to get a dragon costume for him, so like, just pretend. Just pretend.
The next is AR Shot, the only game that combines golf and card collecting. Gotta collect all those cards. I did it. I mean, that's literally all this game is. It's golf. Now, I know that every course can be beaten in one shot, but I'm bad at the game, so that didn't happen. The courses are all deformed and stuff, and it's weird because the low resolution of the 3DS camera makes everything look a bit low quality. Now, you're supposed to look around the ball and shoot it at different angles. I learned this trick though, that if you rotate the card, you don't have to move at all.
Laziness for the win, baby! Oh, you're just stale!
But hey, you fight another dragon here. Instead of shooting balls at the dragon, you got to golf bombs at the reptilian worm. They fall from the sky and you have to knock them into the dragon. The only problem is that it's hard to aim them properly. But if you like golf and moving the 3DS around, I hear the stocks for this game are down, so I would buy them up. Next game up is fishing! Hell yeah, baby! I love this sport! The fishing here reminds me of how to fish in Animal Crossing, down to the animations and everything. You have to wait for a fish to nibble at your pole. When they bite, you tilt up the 3DS to catch them.
Oh!
But hey, after some time and finishing up, you fight another dragon! Listen, these guys might be on the edge of extinction, but I want it in my collection! You have to drop bombs on it while it's in the water, and once it's all dead and shit, you have to hook it up. Oh, shit! Oh my God. Oh, you poor thing. It's not even fully dead, it's still twitching.
I think it's time to put him out of his misery.
I'm done with my dragging extinction expedition. I would rather take photos with Mario. So when you get the AR cards, you also get various character or all-star cards, as the game calls it. You got Mario, Lonk, Kirby, Samus, and Pikmin. These are only used in this mode to take photos. You can change the size of the character, change their poses, and make them murder the mascot of this game. It's all fun for the family.
But what if I wanted to take photos of Batman on my desk?
It's close enough. For some reason, there's a whole separate mode for taking photos with the Mii characters, and it's alright, but you can't even use the all-star cards with the Miis to take funny photos. The last game is just drawing. You can draw and have it do flips and shit. There are some references to Mario Paint, and by references I mean one, and it's the rocket erasing your image. But you can also use a reference to draw. But I don't need that, I can draw Link on my own. Wait, don't look at that!
But that's really all the games within this mode. Except that's a total lie. I had to play this for more time than I expected. I mean, I'm not complaining, that's just stating a fact.
There's a shop in which you can buy more modes and games. You buy them with the 3DS's play tokens. These were tokens you earned by keeping the system in sleep mode and walking around with it. Or you can close it and shake it until you hit 10 play tokens for the day.
It's like a terrible shake weight. So it's a shake weight.
But these are more so just bonuses rather than more games to play. There's more levels for archery and AR shot. There's a clock where a chicken will try and murder you. In the third dimension, there's a fish gallery where you can look at all the fish you caught in the fish minigame. Try showing this one to the boys down at the dock.
I caught a sardine.
There's a globe. It just tells you what state you're in. And lastly, you can deform your own environment. Finally, I can have a protruding hand like I always wanted. But that's really it for this game, or series of games, and well, it's interesting. I don't know what pushed Nintendo to develop AR games and using cards of all things. I think it was to combine card collecting and video games, but they never did go too far with that.
But that doesn't mean they didn't stop making more cards outside the AR games. I know there's a whole Mario line they made for the downloadable eShop game. I'll have to buy it secondhand since they aren't in stores anymore, but I'm sure it's not that expensive.
You ever just pirate cards? So the way the AR technology works in the 3DS is that the camera has to recognize the image. This means you can print out your own cards and even make them any size you want. Nintendo even offered the ability to download high-res images and print out the cards themselves. They also did offer an AR card poster through Club Nintendo, making it so you can play the game while they're all big and stuff, and really, it's impractical. You have to get really far away for it to work, so it's not functional for playing, but it does look good on the wall.
And finally, I got out all the cards, and man, who knew card collecting was so easy? I can't believe people make a living out of this stuff.
These Mario cards were used for a free downloadable eShop game called Photos with Mario. Why? Did they think people would want to take more photos with the 3DS often? Have you seen the quality of this thing? It's not as good as the trailer makes it out to be. But yeah, it's basically like All-Stars photos, but with Mario characters like Mario, and Peach, and Goomba, and Casino Man. This is boring. I mean, I guess it was a deal because you would spend $10 to not only get a card, but also $10 in the eShop. Oh boy! I can buy Photo Dojo 5 times with that kind of money.
But each card would cost $10, meaning you would be spending $60 for the whole collection. I mean, I'm not an investor, but you could buy 60 Arizonas with that money. Why would I want cards?
I guess it's kind of cool since the game had more interactivity. You can have the characters interact with each other and even yell at the characters yourself. But most of the time, AR cards would just be meant for taking photos. However, there are games that would utilize the initial cards that came with the device as well to unlock things, like in Mario Party Island Tour. You can unlock minigames with it. Maybe in the future I can go over all these various card features, but finding most of these cards is kind of impossible.
The 3DS is 10 years old, and so are the initial AR cards themselves, and yeah, while it was cool early on within its life, Nintendo was quickly to give up on the idea very early on.
You can tell because of the 3DS XL onward, instead of coming in this neat little envelope, they came in this. They really stopped caring about this endeavor. Except for when Kid Icarus came out. For some odd reason, they produced over 400 cards for this game of various characters, and I don't know if Kid Icarus has that many characters to begin with. Who the hell wants to collect that many cards from a Nintendo game?
Me. I kinda wanna do that.
It's going to be hard since there were a lot of cards, not even just from Kid Icarus, but from other games too, like Spirit Camera. There were various other cards released from other series, like Pokemon. However, some were released outside of the US and exclusive, like Animal Crossing cards from Europe and Pikmin cards from Japan. I would love to return to this topic in the future because it's such an interesting part of Nintendo's history, and yet while everyone seems to remember it, nobody seems to talk about it.
Man, I feel like I've been saying that a lot lately, but it's true though. I grew up in a time where weird experiments in gaming were always happening, like all the time. And I'm just glad I'm finally able to talk about the one thing that stuck out for me from childhood. I'm serious when I said I've had this idea for over a year now, and I'm so glad that I'm giving it the attention I think it rightfully deserves.
So, are you still bored?
You know what, computer? I think for the first time in all my life, I got even more bored! How does that keep happening?